Oh my gosh. Alright folks, Alan Rubel coming at you for Ozark Mountain Outdoor Adventures. I got a special treat for you here today. We're going to be going over 5 different styles of crankbaits. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button to the YouTube channel, and we'll get right into it. Alright folks, Alan Rubel coming back at you. Thanks again so much for tuning in with us. We definitely appreciate all your support. Like I said, we got a lot of fun and adventures still in store for you today this summer. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button to the YouTube channel. So we're going to get right into it today. As I said, we're going to go over 5 different types of crankbaits. And you know, there's probably 1,000 different variations of crankbaits. And so we're really just going to go over the 5 top styles or categories of what most of your crankbaits are going to fall into. So let's get right into it. Alright, well, I love using a crankbait. I mean, there's so many different situations that you can toss a different crankbait into, and it's really going to pull those fish out of the cover into the open, you know, trigger those predatory instinctual bites, and really just, I mean, get some hard, maybe not hungry fish to you know, bite. So we're going to break these down into your 5 main categories. Probably first off here, I think we're going to start with the lipless crank, or better known to some as the rattle trap, because it does have these rattles in it. So they come in various different sizes, colors, weights, and those kind of things, but primarily what you'll see here that you won't find on some of these other ones is the lipless. It does not have a lip on here that you'll find on these other crankbaits. So wherein do you throw a lipless crankbait? So oftentimes, I mean, you could be. When I picture the lipless crankbait, I assume you're fishing from a you know, a boat. You're trolling. You're searching for some fish, and really just trying to cover a lot of water. Where these will shine is up into those grassy lakes, where you're pulling and ripping through some grass, and just perfect for that, and really triggering some bites. One cool thing about this that you might not find in some of the other lip crankbaits is that this does have a weight in it, so it's not as buoyancy. So you can work it like you would a jig and bounce it off the bottom. You can do a slow crawl, or for the most part, it is just used to cover a lot of water in a short amount of time, and try and trigger and locate those fish. So the first one we have here today is the lipless crank. Second one we have would be the deep diver. Again, here's that bill right there. Big bill on this guy. I mean, depends on where you're fishing, and how deep you're wanting to go. You know, oftentimes fishing from the bank, as I do, you're in 4 to 6 foot is about as deep as you're fishing. Some of these deep crankbaits, I mean, can go to 12 to 16 foot, and even deeper with the right setup. But primarily, the deep diving crankbait serves one purpose: to dive down deep, to get down in there to where the fish are hiding. Usually you're going to find the best time to use these is still in the cooler times of the year, where the fish are staying closer to the bottom, up against that hard cover, And you know, pulling the deep diving crankbait to get down, you have to get down to where the fish are, and oftentimes the only way to do that and still cover a lot of area is going to be the deep diving crankbait. So just a great, and even if you're in shallower waters and you want to be hitting those bottoms, and you know, you want to stay at the bottom, you can use these and just keep contact with the bottom, you know, by using just a crankbait with a larger bill. So anyway, the next one we'll have will be the you know, the shallow diving. So there's two different types of shallow diving crankbait. You have the square nose and you have the round nose. To give you a bit of a comparison between the two. Get that to focus there. The square nose and the round nose. Obviously the bills are shorter than the deep diver. You know, you just don't need that much pressure to get down much deep. But the wobble is going to be different between the square nose and the round nose. You have a more sporadic side-to-side wobble with the square nose, as your round nose is a tighter wobble where it's not out to the side as much as your square nose. And there's a lot of preferences involved in between these two. Oftentimes when you get those side-to-side sporadic movements with a square nose, I mean, that's what's going to be triggering those bites. So or if you're at a pinpoint, you need to pinpoint a certain structure, I mean, that's where the round nose is going to come into play. But very similar setup for the depth of which they would be diving. However, the main difference between the two would be the type of wobble that is caused from the shape of the bill itself. And if you think about it, you know, the round nose is tighter when the square nose is a wider, more sporadic wobble. All right, well, next we have the jointed crank. This one's got a big bill on it as well, and really it just adds a little bit of more movement to the tail end of the bait, a little bit more lifelike. I don't use these as often. They're a little bit, I mean, that's a big bait, you can see, so it really doesn't fall into every circumstance. So it really just depends on where you're at, how you're fishing, what type of fish you're going for in time of year and those kind of things. But primarily that is the purpose of the joint crankbait, is just to give some additional movement to the tail end of the bait, and hopefully get those better hookups with those short strikes on, you know, when they're just coming in and grabbing that tail. So, okay. And lastly, we have, oh, we don't have one out here, is a suspended bait. So basically, you know, different baits rise and fall at different speeds. A suspended bait, it does not rise, it doesn't have as much buoyancy, it doesn't necessarily sink, but it does stay in that water column in the strike zone longer because it doesn't go right to the surface like some of your other more buoyant type of baits is. So those are really nice, you know, when you're getting into still, again, those cooler water temperatures early in the season, where you might give those fish just another moment or two. They'll see it, and then come and take a closer look, and then give it an extra twitch and cause a strike. Whereas if it's buoyancying up, it may be out of their strike zone really before those more slow fish have time to react. So keeping that bait in front of the fish's face a little bit longer is going to just give just a few moments extra of time to trigger that reaction strike. So again, those are your 5 primarily main style and types of crankbaits. So I know I've covered that very quickly for the topic that it is. I may break these down again on the water when I'm doing some fishing, talking about, you know, that while I'm using them in a real life situation. But for now, you know, I thought I'd just kind of graze over it, give you an idea if you're looking for some additional information. Again, thanks so much for tuning in with us. We'll hope to see you later in the season as we're getting back out there. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.